and 828 million people worldwide will go to bed hungry tonight. How can it be that in the United States, the wealthiest nation in the world, 1 in every 8 children still go to bed hungry every single night? In my own home city of Los Angeles, every 1 in 5 people experience food insecurity, unsure of when or from where their next meal will be. Globally, 45 million children under the age of 5 are suffering. They are suffering from acute malnutrition, their small bodies chronically deprived of essential nutrients, stunting physical, cognitive, and social development, and making them especially vulnerable to infectious disease and drastically elevated mortality rates.
As I'm listening, it's occurring to me that that food security is not unique. A lot of these challenges we're facing are the same challenges we're facing with semiconductors, with energy, with PPE, with rare earth elements. And it seems to me that the common theme is that after the end of the Cold War, we built a global economy designed for efficiency, not for security. And that worked in a globalized, frictionless post-Cold War world. But now that geopolitics has returned, we realize that that doesn't work. We need secure supply chains.
The problem between Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the consequent shutdown of exports from Ukraine through the Black Sea has brought global attention to the food security issue. But it's overdue attention. This is not a problem of one event. This is a problem that has been building for several decades now. To the immediate issue, of course, those shipping routes need to be opened in the Black Sea, and they need to stay open. The farmers in Ukraine need to be able to plant, to fertilize, to harvest, and market. At the same time, Russia also must export grain and fertilizer and get the world agricultural system back in check.
You know, I think many people are very surprised, especially Europeans and North Americans, as to the effect of the Ukraine crisis, the Ukraine war, on countries as far away as Indonesia. But one statistic, it comes out very glaringly, is the fact that Indonesia imports, I think this year, 14 million tons of wheat. 14 million tons of wheat. Indonesia produces very, very little wheat. I think it's 0 tonnage. And therefore, anything that happens in faraway places, such as Ukraine, has a direct impact on the livelihoods of Indonesians.
And to deal with this problem, it's very important to go through a few stages. Like first thing is to see the roots. What is the root of the problem? Now when we're talking about Ukraine, right? Because there are many other factors, but Ukraine, as people used to say, war in Ukraine. We identify the root as war in Ukraine. The next stage is to recognize it, and on the stage of recognition, I think we have to speak very bravely. It takes a lot of courage to identify this, to acknowledge that this is Russian aggression against Ukraine. So we're not dealing with the war in Ukraine. We're not dealing with Ukraine, basically. This subject is Russia. Third, we have to identify the instruments, how to deal with this, basically how to deal with Russia, with Russian aggression, with the regime that made it possible. And the last one, to take action. So basically, this is the algorithm, and I think the world is stuck on the, well, globally is stuck on the second stage of acknowledgement that, you know, it's not a conflict in Ukraine. It's not a Ukrainian crisis. It's not like war in Ukraine, like nameless war in Ukraine, but it's Russian aggression against Ukraine. See the roots, cut the roots, cure
there is a grain deal, an ability to export the grains from Ukraine using the ports. It is incredibly important because one of the worst things that could be for a farmer, and you can imagine that, is to see grains rotting in the silos. So that's a fantastic one, but it is such a fragile agreement. Every single moment, the ship is going in and out. It's so many people having fingers crossed or praying because you never know if it's going to reach its destination. So what kind of food security is there if it's absolutely not secure? So for any discussion about security and about ability for my country to continue to provide for the whole world, we should start with the question of peace. We should start with the question of victory. We should start with the question of predictability. We should start with the question of security, because food security comes as add-on to the general security.